What's going on, traders? Welcome back to another video. I appreciate you tuning in as always. I want to talk about why us as traders seem to overcomplicate things sometimes, where the chart's telling you what it wants to do, but sometimes you're just trying to overcomplicate it and fight that trend and fight your gut of what it's actually just telling you to do. And I want to go over today's setups. There was a couple of good money in the market today, but that first hour, I overcomplicated it, I think. Or now looking back at the day, it seems like it was a lot easier said than done. But looking at the charts here, let's look at the trade zealot first. Again, gonna keep you updated on it. Small month of trading. Not a lot of days, but the streak is alive and well intact. We're at 22 days, so we can't hate that. But looking at the trade setups today, we're gonna look at ES and NQ as always. The first one that I think was probably the best money now looking back at it because it happened so early in my prime time, right at the New York Open. We're live on ASFX TV taking this trade. That it may not look like my normal setup of trading mid-range short, Evan, when it looks like a bullish open so far. But again, with the help of those edge reports, this blue line below us was the midnight open price. And on this day had a 75% chance of being engaged with, which is a strong target. I'd say anything over 60, 65% is when I really use those reports to try to get me into a trade. Now, normally, right, I'd probably be looking for longs if we could bounce off this New York VWAP, take out a higher day VWAP. But again, there's a target below me that probably wants to be fulfilled, so I wouldn't be looking to take that long on this specific day where if there was no target below me, I probably absolutely would. But now once you see it fail to break out of this open range high a second time, and a second break back below New York with a stronger bar, and we have that target below us at midnight, that's the money to be had. You can get a great stop at high a day, only 6 points. It was the easiest trade of the day, in my opinion. Super early on, when that volatility is there, it takes a while to chug its way, only 9 points because it was a pretty slow day, even though I just said volatility. There really was none. But nonetheless, a super strong report from Edgeful. But then moving on for the rest of the day, this is where we maybe me personally, overcomplicate some things that I'm trying to look for longs here because if you've seen the previous videos on this YouTube channel, the 15-minute has been a strong use to me of that it does keep me in some choppy markets. I find my way into a move that with the left side here, this is the 15-minute. At this time of day, we're up and around here. Trying to get back above the daily view up. I still like longs because looking from the pre-market pricing, still building these higher lows. There's no way I could really say we look bearish today. So I'm still potentially looking for longs. Here I have this one marked up. This would be the second play of it after maybe seeing some higher lows on the right. Okay, maybe we're finding clearly some support down at lower day. We can't just crack lower and sellers aren't just taking control. So do I want to long it here? The 15-minute kind of says so. We're still back above the New York here. We can't move lower, but we just looked at a great trade with the edge reports as a target. If you look at the other edge report of the initial balance, that red line on the bottom, you can see we actually did take out that bottom of the initial balance low. And statistically, on Fridays, only 15% of the time in the past 6 months do we double break. So now me trying to long it up until the high of day, right? I'm trying to find longs up to there. That would have to double break the initial balance, which only has a 15% chance of happening. So that kind of cooks these longs, which is why I didn't take them. But it does look like it wants to go higher. So I don't want to short it, but I can't take it long because of the stat above me. So that's why I'm just flat, right? Where I think if you just listen to the stat and just said, well, it probably doesn't want to go higher. Only 15% of the time would it go higher here. Let me keep on looking for shorts. The shorts don't look ready yet, but I'm not looking for longs anymore because that stat's just too strong. I'm fine missing out on a winning long with probabilities that low than taking the long with probabilities that low and taking that loss. That's almost like inexcusable to take a long with a 15% probability of going higher. You can't really defend that reasoning to anyone else, right? That this, if you just simply look at it, was the trade of the day. Now it's tough to take, which I didn't take it, but it just looks so simple looking back at it. Of course you sell it here. Lower highs. We're failing to get above this New York view up now twice and really hold up there. We know we probably don't want to go up here because of that double break stat I just said in the last markup. So yeah, it probably wants to keep going lower because it doesn't want to go higher, right? Now the one thing was this potential support down here, but clearly that didn't hold. It sliced right through it. So I think just simplifying things and rather than trying to call the bottom and say we're going to bounce back bullish, if you just read the structure here in the 1 minute, sellers have probably been in control way more than the buyers. The stat says it doesn't want to go higher. Keep on looking for shorts. I think it's still a tough one to take because, I mean, all up until that entry right here, you're struggling to move lower. So if it didn't move lower there and just popped back higher, you'd say, what the hell am I doing shorting it? So I don't think it's super easy. Now that you've seen it win, it looks easy, right? Because it's like, oh, wow, there's the pop for a new low. There we go. I knew that was coming in. But like I said in the beginning of the video, this 15-minute on the left, it's been super strong to me. It's been a key, like almost like my superpower in the past 2 months when I've had this streak of 22 straight green days. I've been using this 15-minute and a yesterday's New York view up as my criteria to get into trades. That I can't just hate it now because it kept me out of some shorts today, right? Some days, more days than not, it's going to protect me. So I can't just be like, oh man, I was above yesterday's New York and above the daily, so I couldn't find the shorts. All right, so you missed the money today. But if I use those same criteria and checklist tomorrow, it's gonna save me. So it's a nice winner for anyone that caught it. You'd probably be trading down to this blue view up, which is yesterday's New York. I think I have this marked up. Wouldn't take it. It's tough to do. Trying to buy the bounce off of yesterday's New York because we know it's a key level and it has no problem slicing right through it. Now again, let's take off the trade. Let's just look at price action for what it is because we're on the 1 minute. I'm sure this is a 2 minute chart just to fit in all the candles. So yeah, now when you think about it, this didn't pop until like 12:45. So all New York morning, slow, sideways on a Friday, it doesn't pop easily until 12 o'clock. So tough day of trading, right? You're trying to find a nice move. You're at the desk. You're ready to go at the open. It doesn't care. It doesn't move until 12 o'clock. And by Friday, 12 o'clock, you're trying to be done or 1 o'clock, right? So you're probably not even maybe seeing this move happen. So it is what it is. But I think that initial balance report is the main lesson of it. Of yeah, statistically, it told us it probably only breaks one side. So it broke the bottom. Let's probably keep on looking for shorts because it doesn't want to come up here. Simple, right? As simple as that. It really is that simple. Now let's go over the trading view here because I still have these two drawings on. This is on NQ. This looks like a way better short, and even looking at the same 1 minute prior of those ideas we just went over, same lower highs. Definitely looking bearish. If you notice, let's go back to this markup real quick of this long. This second pump above here on ES, right? It's like the second time buyers are trying to get back above the New York. On NQ, it's still below. So it's definitely looking way more bearish over here on NQ. But same thing, I could argue of, well, there's still some support down here at this lower day. It's not really cracking until it does. So hindsight's 2020. So I think just definitely probably still looking for shorts because I assume the actual stat on NQ is the same of not wanting to come all the way up here. But who knows? I'd have to double check that. But the main lesson on this one is shorts look easier, but look at the yesterday's New York view up in comparison to the ES, that it slices right through it. And the reason I probably wouldn't take any of these shorts earlier on is because you're right into that VWAP. So I definitely can't do that. But now the markup we have on screen, this low a day break, now we finally get for a new low a day. We get out of this potential range here. Finally, trend is maybe coming in. The shorts looked good all morning. We get a new low. Let me wait for my pullback. Enter back in on a break of a low day view up here. So this does look like a great trade, and it runs for you very quickly. 2R over 2R, depending on where your stop is, right? That's a nice trade, and it was an easy trade to recognize. Yeah, I should be looking for more shorts. It's 130 at this point, but if you look at ES at this time, that same structure and that same timing, that low a day break is right at that yesterday's New York view up. So if you're watching ES, you're not going to take that short because it's right at it, or maybe you do. I don't know what you do, but I would not be taking that short right into that key VWAP. So my question for myself and as well as for you, because you guys know I look at both assets to help me get in and out of trades or stay out of some trades. That I wonder if, and I'm going to keep on studying it. And it's kind of what I've already been doing anyways. That if I could look at NQ and say, okay, NQ is already below its yesterday's New York. So this pullback and a break of low a day probably has a great likelihood of working out because why not? There's nothing below it to make it bounce. So if that one's going to move lower and win, because I don't see why it wouldn't, then that's probably going to drag ES lower with it. So is the ES being right at yesterday's New York expected to bounce? Or do I think it gets sucked down lower when NQ keeps moving lower? Does that make sense? But the other side of the coin is, well, if ES is the leader in this one, let's say, and does bounce, then this EQ probably, the NQ probably also comes higher with it, and this short would lose. So it's obviously not forward facing of like, well, you can know which one's the leader and which one's going to happen what. But it's an interesting question of, oh, if I saw the NQ one below yesterday's New York, I'd have no reason to stay out of it, because there's no VWAP in my way. But when you're looking at ES, you are saying, well, there is a VWAP in my way. I can't take this short. We're right at it. So I missed the move because on ES it's right at it, and Q already moved without me. Oh well. But I think just it's a great question to ask yourself if you are watching both assets to study both of them that way, because there's plenty of times like you've seen me do. I think even one of the earlier videos early in the week of a break of high day happened on NQ, but not on ES, so I didn't get in yet. NQ came back down, ES came back down. Okay, oof. Good thing I didn't get back in because buyers weren't in on both. It saved me a losing trade. So we're gonna miss this trade, whatever. Now, obviously, you can't just do this, but if I were to just remove this yesterday's New York VWAP, beautiful bearish structure. I'm trading that all day, every day. I'm finding the short on that pullback, maybe even on the breakout there. But I can't just remove VWAPs. It is in my way. So on today, like I said, it doesn't cost me money. It's fine. But it did keep me from getting into the shorts or seeing the shorts more clearly because, to my rules, if I'm above yesterday's New York, I don't really want to be shorting it. I'm just going to find more high probability setups trading long above it. So it is what it is. Today, maybe it cost me a missing on a winning trade, but like I said, that's fine. Going back to the 15-minute, like I was saying, I think we're all probably looking for longs here when it's holding like this. If this were to shoot higher from here, no one would have been surprised. So I'm going to keep on using this as my playbook. Still follow the same checklist of using the daily view up as well as reading structure. We're above yesterday's New York. I mean, I can't predict that this is just going to slice. I mean, that's literally 10, 15-minute candles bearish in a row. I can't predict that. And that doesn't look probable or look like it was going to want to happen. So it is what it is. The maybe only reason why it may have wanted to happen, like we could argue, is because we probably don't want to now make a new high a day because that initial balance stat I said in the beginning of the video. So hopefully you didn't get too chopped up. Maybe you did find some money short. Think about that lesson I was talking about of the NQ versus ES when they're different VWAPs, but overall structure is the same. But yeah, I think shorts are definitely the way to go now in hindsight 2020. But appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have any questions on these setups that I went over, or even if you have questions on the setups I take to get this 22-day streak, 32 trade winning streak, always feel free to reach out. Always tune into the next video. I'm always doing recaps of the daily reviews. So I appreciate you tuning in. Trade safe. And as always, I'll see you guys on the charts tomorrow morning.